The Hittites are generally credited with being the first to produce iron and steel tools on a large scale. They lived in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, around 1600 to 1200 BCE. Their mastery of iron smelting and forging gave them a significant advantage over their neighbors, leading to their rise as a powerful empire. Great Britain was the largest producer of steel before the rise of the United States. In the 19th century, Britain dominated global steel markets thanks to technological advancements like the Bessemer process and abundant resources. They used that might to produce some of the most powerful ships in the world. They built some of the best structures in the world. They were in the forefront of civilization. The United States of America rapidly caught up and eventually surpassed Britain as the world's leading steel producer. Factors like the abundance of iron ore and coal in the US, coupled with technological innovations and efficient production methods, contributed to the shift. Today, that position is held by China. With the world's largest railway network, largest seaport, longest bridges, largest power plants, hydroelectric dams, solar farms, artificial islands, biggest stadiums, data centers, you name them. China has managed to put itself right in the forefront of today's civilization. From the Hittites to Great Britain, the United States, and now China, a pattern emerges, the one that leads in the production of steel stands in the forefront of civilization. They lead in both commercial merchandise and military infrastructure. Countries who have the local capacity to produce steel invest a lot to ensure that they put themselves in the league of powerful nations of the world, while some others who also have all the human and natural resources required seem quite content to rely on importation of the very important material. But what are the hidden costs of relying on steel importation? This is Discourse, and I'm Azubuike. A nation rich in both human and material resources, Nigeria has the potential to become a steel powerhouse. But despite owning one of Africa's largest steel complexes in the past 40 years, the country still imports billions of dollars worth of steel. With an installed capacity of 5.2 million tons a year, it had largely remained dormant all these decades. Successive federal governments have concessioned and reconcessioned it over and over, with all efforts largely resulting in next to nothing. Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion importing steel every year, according to official government data. That import industry heavily pays the merchants, the shippers, the agents, and people in that value chain a lot of money, and they might not be willing to let it go anytime soon. Talk about cabals in the oil sector. This could be one that had eluded the ordinary mind all this time. With 30 local steel manufacturers, they can only produce 2.2 million tons a year, using scraps and billets imported mainly from China. But we have an iron ore mining company in Itakwe, Kogi State. It seems their production levels are at near zero too. So the both companies produce next to nothing and have continued to be maintained on the budget year on year by successive governments. Please share your thoughts in the comments, like this video and subscribe to the channel. The real cost of relying on steel importation is not denominated in dollars or in naira. So let's dive in. The reliance on imported steel can lead to job losses in the domestic steel industry. The shippers and importers can be said to have been helping to fill the gap that was left by the failure of the two companies and providing a way for infrastructural development to continue, even at a very high cost. The number of jobs created in the shipping and import industry or the import supply chain is nothing compared to what we would have had if both mining and processing were done locally. Importing steel results in a significant outflow of foreign currency. This has contributed in no small measure to the tumble that the Naira has experienced in the past few years. Imagine that all that money was kept in the Nigerian economy. What a different country we would have been living in today. Dependence on imported steel makes the economy vulnerable to fluctuations in the global steel market. This vulnerability causes great instability in our local market as commodity prices fluctuate constantly and inflation rises uncontrollably. A strong local market where most of the major commodities are available makes for a more stable economy. Relying on imported steel can limit a country's economic sovereignty. Critical steel supply can be used as bargaining chips during diplomatic disagreements with supplying countries. They can use our reliance on their steel to exact some level of control over us. Importation makes it difficult for us to control the standard of the materials that we want to use. But if we produce them by ourselves, then it's easy for us to control our own quality for our own local population. A domestic steel industry can create jobs in manufacturing, textile, agriculture, transportation, and related sectors. This will usher in economic diversification and reduce our dependence on a few key sectors like the oil sector. A domestic steel industry can be subjected to stricter environmental regulations, leading to cleaner production methods. It can contribute to our national security by ensuring a reliable supply of a critical strategic resource. The current federal government, led by President Bola Tinubu, recently made two significant decisions that could change the local steel industry for good. One of the projects was announced during President Tinubu's visit to Beijing, where he attended the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. The government entered into a $1 billion agreement with two Chinese companies, China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation and Sinomac, for an iron ore to steel project in Kogi State, aiming to promote local value addition in the solid mineral sector. This marks a major step towards Nigeria's industrialization efforts. The second is a memorandum of understanding entered into with a Russian consortium led by Tirasprom Export, who were the original designers and builders, to rehabilitate, complete and operate Ajaokwuta Steel plant and the National Iron Ore Mining Company, all in Kogi State. This agreement was finalized during a visit to Moscow by Nigeria's Minister of Steel Development, Shuaibu Audu.
Be able to revive Ajaokwuta and all the core components. At the end of the day, that deal will create millions of job opportunities for Nigerians. It would bring significant amount of foreign direct investments into Nigeria, and it would help to grow the GDP of Nigeria and continue to allow us to be not just a leading economy in Africa, but one of the leading economies in the world.
If we get this right this time around, then our nation could be set for a change of fortune. The choice of relying on steel importation is a complex one which comes with both environmental and economic consequences. But the most important aspect or the hidden cost of relying on steel importation is that it robs us of the opportunity to insert ourselves in the league of powerful nations, in the league of successful nations, in the league of productive nations. That is the real cost of relying on steel importation. We can make better decisions that will promote local steel production, develop our local economy, and empower us to build a successful and safer Nigeria for ourselves and our unborn children. Please share your thoughts in the comments, like this video and subscribe to the channel. And importantly, please support domestic policies that are geared towards increasing steel production